Yeah, I know. We're in a groove. Jesus. Oh, there we go. We are
Praise the
live. Hey,
groove.
guys. It's Heretic U, and it's Friday night. And if you're watching this live, I don't know why you're watching this live. What are you doing? Um, anyways, this is Wargaming After Dark, the show where wargamers meet in the middle of the night and get real. I'm still
Get
thinking
real. Tin Man
of
XL here. You can tell by my
tonight's
Tin Man
guest.
themed shirt.
Yes. Let me give you an intro here. Let's give you a proper channel intro here.
You gonna
So,
drop the Beastie Boys song like in that video?
dude, if YouTube will flag it. YouTube flags my shit all the time. I did a video where I played this old anime theme song. It's like from the 80s, and it got flagged. I'm like, seriously, who knows that? Like, no
That's what I
one's
like
even
being
heard
on
of this
no
cartoon.
box.
All right, wait, hang on. So all right. So, hey guys, if you're watching this, we have a special guest tonight, and he probably doesn't need an introduction, but I'm gonna do it anyways. If you're into War Machine, you've probably seen his videos, his how to play, his bat reps, and more recently, his Dice Rage live show, which is all about War Machine.
Dice Rage!
Dice Rage! So, without further ado, let me introduce Tin Man, somewhere over the rainbow, XL. What's up, Tin Man?
How's it going?
Thanks for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Let me start off by saying that I asked Tin Man to be on the show because, well, a couple of reasons. I'll just get into one right now. Tin Man is one of these guys who goes to his local game store, who goes to conventions, and demos games for you guys out there. And this goes out to everyone who does this. You know, no matter what game you're into, if you are you know a volunteer, a henchman, a press ganger, a ninja, what else we got? What other programs do we have?
Commandos. There's so many games out there that have commandos.
Whatever game you support and you're trying to build a community around it, you know, if you're a TO or whatever, it's a pretty thankless job, man. And
Oh yeah.
I think it's about time we recognize those guys. Tin Man is just one of many that actually do the hard work and go out there and meet people and spend time collecting miniatures that they probably, you know, you're probably collecting stuff that you normally don't need, right? Just to have like a demo crew
Oh yeah. In
and
fact,
train.
speaking of demo crews,
Yes.
this is my latest acquisition, Retribution.
Oh,
Just for demos.
retro, huh?
Just for demos. This is sort of when the Retribution were first announced, I wanted to start them as a faction, but I was mad broke at the time. But I actually had a friend that was going to ninja some stuff for me from Gen Con Indy back in 2009. But he called me up. He was there in the Privateer press line. He's like, okay, I'm here. What was that stuff you wanted again? I said, man, I'm sorry, but I am so broke right now that, you know, if you bought this stuff for me and brought it back, I wouldn't be able to pay you. But I wouldn't know when I could pay you back. This was Seattle James, if you're familiar with my battle reports, you remember him. It was, you know, Seattle James was there, and he's just like, it's cool, you can hit me back. And I was like, no, I would feel really, really bad because so much time would go by before I could pay you for this stuff. And, yeah, so pretty much my last press gang order, I picked this kid up here, and because this is a War Machine battle group that doesn't function like a normal War Machine battle group, because the jacks have shields on them. They have, you know, like hit boxes to represent a shield that's around them before they start taking damage. So that's a little bit off the wall. I also have got the Convergence of Cirrus battle group as well, Because, a guy calling himself the Tin Man should have some Clockwork Army stuff in his collection.
Right.
And I'm going to put that together, and that's going to be a part of my more oddball demo kit for War Machine. For, like, maybe someone who's played before it shows up at the demo. I can say, well, you know what, let's throw some Retribution and some Convergence on the table for something that doesn't play normal compared to the standard War Machine factions of Khador, Signar, Krix, and Protectorate with mercenaries.
Speaking of Khador, I picked up like 50 points of it, so I'm painting that right now, just in honor of our War Machine episode.
Hammer time.
I don't even know what these guys are. They just
that is the Man of War demo corps, and they are awesome.
Nice. Are they good?
They are awesome. Yes. Seattle James, I guess, who was in my video, who's been in a lot of my videos, one of his favorites. When I bought my Storm Strider, which I put together, then started painting, and then went like way too long without painting. Pretty much, he said if I ever put that on the table, he had hammers to smash it. Those are the hammers he was talking about.
Okay, all right. So I got a lot of questions about War Machine because I'm new to War Machine. First off, well, let me back up here. Okay. What got you into War Machine, and why are you so passionate about it, and why are you trying to grow this War Machine community?
I started out like a lot of war gamers. I started out as a Warhammer 40k player. I was a Necron player, pretty much. And one day I was odd man out, just waiting for a game to start, play some 40k. And this dude shows up with a couple of army transport motor pools, one with a Signar army in it, and another with a Khador army in it. And he was odd man out, and he just decided to just demo War Machine for random people, and I happened to be one of them. And pretty much he demoed it for me, a couple other guys who were odd man out, waiting for some 40k to play, and one of the shop owners at the shop I used to play at. And then the shop owner brought in a catalog. And then rule books and some battle boxes were ordered. And then the next thing we knew, in the blink of an eye, we were all playing. I was originally going to be a Krix player, just because in a lot of these games I tend to gravitate towards the bad guys.
And Necrons and Krix, would you say they're kind of, the same sort of?
No, not really.
No.
No, because like Necrons are very regimented, very order, they're kind of the extreme. A lot of people group them in with chaos, but I don't really see them being chaos. I think they're the extreme opposite of chaos, and so far extreme that they're bad guys in the same way. They're the same kind of threat, but they're the opposite extreme threat. That's how I kind of saw them when I was a 40k player. Krix, I just thought the stuff looked cool, particularly the Helljacks, the Leviathan and the Harrower, which were like new back then. The Leviathan was new back then. Reminded me of the Skeksis from The Dark Crystal. The Dark Crystal is one of my favorite movies, and I wanted to play them. Plus, I thought the undead stuff looked cool because of the Revenant pirates.
Ghost pirates.
Yeah, the Revenant pirates were just like, oh, I'm gonna get some Scooby-Doo action on the tabletop right there. that they look cool. And then Pirate Queen Squire. I thought Pirate Queen Squire and the Satixis Raiders look cool. I actually have a unit of Satixis Raiders in my collection that I haven't painted yet. Also waiting to be painted here is the Satixis Raider. She's right here. The Satixis Raider characters from the Iron Kingdoms that has not been brought into the War Machine game yet. I know they've brought a lot of the IK models into the War Machine game and gave them stat cards, but I got her here. I actually played a Satixis Raider in an Iron Kingdoms game when it was D&D based. Not the current one, but when it was a D20 based one. Matt, the Signar player, who's been in a number of my videos for fans of my show, they know who he is. He was our DM. He was the guy that tended to DM stuff for us. when we played D&D, and for his last game, his last game that he ran before moving back to the Sacramento area, he wanted all of us to step outside of our comfort zones and
Dude,
play things we didn't normally play.
I just want a box of Statistics Raiders because I'm about to fully geek out here, but they remind me of the Homestuck trolls.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So I want to paint them up like Homestuck trolls.
I thought about doing that myself as well.
Yeah.
I thought about doing that. It's just funny. It's because in back anime, all the Homestuck kids, they showed up dressed as Attack on Titan scouts.
Yeah, a lot of them. There's a lot of crossover between those two crowds. I've noticed. The Homestuck and Attack on Titan, and I'm just starting to get into Attack on Titan. I'm only 3 episodes in.
It is really good.
It is amazing.
It's one of the most popular animes that come out, and I think not be that popular without even being dubbed into English yet. I mean,
right.
That's good when it's just like the hot thing. When it's like, because the anime cons, you got the kids and then you got the parents, and when the parents are just there to kind of chaperone their kids, but they're not really into this stuff, are going, yeah, Attack on Titan. Watching it with my kids, man. My kids got me watching anime. That was the talk of the last back anime I was at. It was all these parents, so I remembered from previous back animes, they're just kind of there in the past, more of chaperones. Watch them turn into fans because of Attack on Titan. Pretty much just see this. Yeah, like I was saying, I was in that D20 game, and Matt wanted us to step out of our comfort zone to play things we didn't normally play. Well, I don't normally play evil characters, and I don't normally gender bend. So I did both. Because the Statistics Raiders are a race of these sort of mutant Amazon warrior women and of the high seas, and I played one. And I thought that was pretty cool. I got into character, it was fun. And I played an evil character, but I did so that I wasn't a dick to my fellow players. Because that's one thing that annoyed me about people that play evil characters in D&D is that they use it as an excuse to be a jerk to other players. And I didn't do that. Because my mentality is like, hey, I'm basically playing a pirate who's going to see the other player characters as shipmates. And there's just certain boundaries you have when you're shipmates. And she just brought that mentality. So I was able to explain my alignment and everything and make it work.
All right, yeah. So... Was it pretty much? Did you give up 40K pretty much right after you discovered War Machine, or?
I still played 40K for another 2 years after I got into War Machine.
So what edition are we talking?
I'm gonna say 4th edition.
Okay.
4th and 5th edition was the time frame. Pretty much it was 2000. It was like late 2005, early 2006. When I got into War Machine, when I got into Wargaming. And, yeah, it's very early 2006 I got into War Machine, very late 2005, mid to late 2005 that I got into Warhammer. I was still playing with my Necrons for a good year afterwards. In fact, there were days where I'd bring both my Cygnar and my Necrons to the game store and get games in with both and be like, hey, got in both games today. I'm going home happy. But pretty much, this was in the Mark I era, so War Machine was a serious underdog back then. It didn't blow up big. War Machine didn't actually blow up big until very recently, and by recently, I think like 4 years, shortly after, I'd say in 2011. So, War Machine blew up big about 3 years ago. When I got into it. It was Mark I. Mark I was broken. Mark I was barely playable. I don't know why we had so much fun playing it. But in hindsight, it was very broken, very over. A lot of things were really overpowered, a lot of imbalances. But we had fun playing it. You can see that in my older videos. In fact, I've been watching a grip of my older videos lately because I've been migrating some of my older content from YouTube over to Daily Motion.
Yeah, sometimes broken, depending on who you're playing with, can be very fun because it could be more thematic, right? I I mean, sure, you bend the rules to be an absolute dick, but um,
Well, what
if you're
made
playing with the right people, then you can have
yeah.
like very themed, very crazy lists, right?
Well, it just depends. Yeah, it depends on who you're playing with. But the main thing back then is that the rules officials in the forums they got away with a lot more back then than they do now. So look, it was like every week we're playing a different game because there'd be this massive rules change,
Oh, I see.
and you had to stay on top of that. And there were players out there that would take advantage of that and be like, "Well, if you heard about this errata and this errata, so then I could totally do this." And there was just crazy stuff. Like one I remember was Stretchy Shield. Stretchy Shield was that if a model had reach with one weapon but didn't have reach with the other, then they can make attacks with both weapons at reach. We call that Stretchy Shield, which was dumb, but it's like, well, if that's the rule, we're gonna do it. That actually caused some issues in our player group because some people were like, okay, well, if you're gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And then the same person that did that to you goes, well, why are you doing it if you think it's dumb? Go, you doing it to me. We're going to keep it even. Keep it fair.
Right, and that's how you break a game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
That's how games are broken. When did you decide to become a press ganger?
Well, pretty much the local game store, I noticed a pattern in the local game store I was playing at where everyone who stood up for the game got stomped down. Either they couldn't take criticism from the player base or just various other factors they had to deal with, and they would very quickly stop running things and then complain about the player base or complain about other factors. So at first there was a guy in our group that kind of stood up. He was like the first guy to get all this stuff painted and to learn the rules. He ran our first steamroller. And then he was talking about the second steamroller. Well, he was going to impose the rule of everyone has to have their stuff painted. Well, in the Bakersfield, it's a good rule, but in the Bakersfield meta, we like to take more time to paint our stuff.
Ah.
And it wasn't a slop job meta. So because a lot of metas where you force people to paint, you're going to get slop jobs. People are going to take the time to make their stuff look good. And so we're just like, our meta is like, well, if you're taking the time to make your stuff look good, then it's okay if, your stuff's not fully painted because you care about how your stuff looks. You want to, you want it to look good. You want to paint it to the best of your ability. And that's kind of how our meta always was. Well, people complained, and he just threw his hands up and said, I'm done. So then a shop owner started running stuff.
I see.
He was running stuff for a while, but one issue with him is that he was playing in the very tournaments he was running. And if you beat him in a game later down the road in the same tournament, he'd retaliate and have a ruling against you. So like in round 1 of a tournament, I played against him, and I beat him. And he didn't like the way I beat him. He didn't like the fact that I used a combo on him called the Haley Blender. Now, this was a Mark 1 combo, where it was essentially there was an outside-the-box thinking list with Haley 1 called the Haley Toe-to-Toe that was talked about in No Quarter magazine. That's where, back then, the status quo was to take Haley with a bunch of shooty stuff and use temporal barrier to slow your opponent down to keep your opponent from reaching you so you can gun them all down. The other was Haley Toe-to-Toe. Haley Toe-to-Toe was taking Haley and then melee troops, running up on them and then using temporal barrier to lower their defense so you're more likely to hit them. And it kind of gave you the edge in close combat. The variant I used was something called the Haley Blender. It was a combination where I took Sword Knights. Back then, Sword Knights had 2 attacks. Back then, Rupert Corvolo granted an extra attack to a unit, and then Haley's feat gave everything an extra attack. So my Sword Knights could attack 4 times. Sword Knights had back then, and still have now, a rule called Flank, where if they're attacking a model in melee, that's being engaged by a warjack, they get +2 to hit and an additional damage die. So on this dude's caster, I had a lancer kind of poking it at him, and I had him surrounded by sword knights, all attacking 4 times each, and I drove him nuts. Second game was against Tom. I assassinated Tom's caster.
No,
Tom had.
Hang on a second. So you played the TO, and the TO, was he playing to win?
Yes, he was
trying to win his own tournament.
Yes, he was.
That's
he fronted
wrong.
like he fronted like he wasn't, but he was.
That violates event or TO rule number 1. You should never try to win your own event. And I think that still happens today. And I'm kind of wondering what type of person does that. You know, I'm going to throw an event for, you know, a bunch of people. So, you know,
But wait, it gets better.
Oh, yeah?
My second round, I played a game against Tom, who's also in my a lot of my videos. He's my main opponent for most of my videos. Tom, he earned 1 control point. I didn't earn any control points, but I defeated his warcaster. I won the game by assassination, and by War Machine.
Page 5, bitches. Sorry.
War Machine and assassination always trumps all other victory conditions.
Yeah.
The TO decided to rule it. The TO decided to rule it as he gave the victory to Tom, even though I won the game. And his rationale was, well, Tom earned the control points, and winning's about the control points, when he knew better. So he just did that to screw me for revenge. And when I said something to him about it, later, his only response was, well, that's different. And I was like, no, you screwed me. You did this on purpose. And that's what he did.
So basically what you're saying, Tin Man, if I'm reading this all correctly, you became a press ganger because the guys running your local area, they were shit.
Well, I'm going to plead the fifth on that. But pretty much it gets better. So pretty much he then burns out. Another guy kind of steps up and does some stuff. And then he gets lazy. He doesn't commit. He stopped committing to the things that he said he was going to commit. He had regular tournaments going on Wednesday night that were really popular, drawing a huge crowd. Then he just up and decided to stop running them. And he actually and drove off a bunch of the player base. So at that point, I had mentioned to him before. I said, "Hey, you guys told me that if I applied for become a press ganger, that you'd back me up, because I've been doing demos and stuff that whole time. I've been showing people the product, demo, letting people borrow my models to demo, and I didn't have like a proper demo kit just yet. I had I just like put a couple of 15-point lists together and just show somebody the ropes. At some point prior to that, I had this notion in my head that I was going to start a second War Machine army and play Protectorate. When I realized that I just could not afford to do that, I sold most of my Protectorate stuff, but I kept my battle box. Painted the battle box. So with my painted Signar battle box I had already, and my painted Protectorate battle box, I now had a demo kit. So I submitted an application to Privateer Press, was really, really verbose about it, and something happened. Pretty much when I submitted my application, the image of myself, because you're supposed to include a picture of yourself, well, that got corrupted. So I get this message back going, hey, all we got was this picture of this shadowy figure in a Signar shirt. Submit a new picture. So I found a completely different picture and sent that, and it's like, I sent that to him. And plus, these were guys I chatted with on the forums. One of them called my shop, talked to somebody told them, and this is a quote, "We often joke about paying him commission." So actually got fast tracked in, and I became a press ganger. So one February day, I was substitute teaching at the time, and I was at a school where during the prep period there was a computer I can get on and dick around, and the filters didn't block the Privateer Press website yet. I'm getting on that, and then I was like, well, I'm going to check my email. Check my email, saw that I was approved.
And your heart was all aflutter.
Yep. So then I started doing stuff at the same shop, and well, this shop had issues with clicks and whatnot, and so there were some problems there. But pretty much one of the people that got me into the wargaming hobby to begin with. I know, like in last week's episode of this, you're talking about dealing with event organizers from other games and having to deal with them. And some of these come up with those demos. And I think I left a little comment about having to deal with GW Outriders in the comment section. Yeah, the GW Outrider who got me into the wargaming hobby and got me building and painting models, all that stuff. He looked me after I became a press ganger, and he confirmed it. He asked us, "Hey, heard you're like a press ganger now." I was like, "Yeah." So you're in there now? I said, "Yeah, man, I made it in." And I said to him, "Hey, we ought to like go in together on something and try to get something going for the wargamers." Because at the time, this was mostly a wargamer shop, but there was an encroachment of CCG players, and there was talk amongst the wargamers of, "Hey, we got to do something, or the CCG players are gonna take over." There was a lot of that talk amongst wargamers, so I was gonna bring that up, like, "Hey, we got to do something to really get the hobby going." He cuts me off. He's like, "No, so you're with Privateer Press. You're the enemy.
You're a traitor, man.
And
you don't support a company that fucks over their customers."
And I thought he was joking because this dude had a dry sense of humor.
Oh, really?
And when I kind of started laughing, he's like, "No, I'm serious." He started throwing a fit about how people think he's always joking when he's serious. And he just goes off. And he deliberately does this when the shop owner stepped out for a moment to go check the mail, so that it would be my word versus his when he got back. So I ran like three different tournaments at this store. Every single one, him and his cronies were showing up at the same time and trying to have events at the same unscheduled events at the same time as my scheduled and advertised events.
Oh damn! Turf wars.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I have my flight. There's one time where literally one of them walked up to a flyer I had posted, read it out loud to himself, then walked up to the shop owner and scheduled something at the same time.
D-bag move. That's a D-bag move.
Oh yeah. But yeah,
so how's that Outrider program working out for you?
Yeah,
all right. I like that. So that's a pretty fascinating story. I do have a couple questions for you though. What is the for outsider like me, right? I look at a game like War Machine, and it seems hyper competitive. The whole page 5 thing, the caster kill mechanic. It's to me it seems it's meant for the super competitive.
Well, it wasn't originally meant that way. It was more tongue in cheek. Okay. But it's like the guy that got me into my first press gang quartermaster. He said that basically when he just talks about page 5, there's what we said versus what other people heard. So he's like, what we said was lose the game without being a crybaby about it. That's basically what he said.
Okay.
And then what people tend to heard was I don't have to be a good sport because people don't like my attitude or just crying about losing and should read page 5. That's not really what they meant. It was just a tongue-in-cheek statement about sportsmanship. They also said things like,
"But do you as a press ganger, do you run into people that are apprehensive about starting War Machine because of the competitive scene, and it is one of the more competitive games. I mean, there are War Machine tournaments all over, especially in our like in our game store. In my area, the War Machine crowd. It seems like they're having tournaments all the time. You know,
Yeah. And
and do you run into anybody that's like, I love this, I love the idea of trying out a new game, but they're a little scared that it's too competitive.
well, it all boils down to your local meta. All honestly, because they're kind of the ambassadors of the game. If you've got a highly competitive, cutthroat meta, then your 8 people are going to be alienated. The meta I had at Paladin's Game Castle in particular, which is like the good game store I did stuff at,
Uh-huh.
then I did goofy stuff a lot. So people saw that I was somebody that just wanted people to have a good time. And that our meta was about just getting together and having a good time. When you got that going on, then that's not an issue. But when you got a meta where people just want to be like the big shots in the podcasts, that's when you're going to get the alienation. Because a good press ganger's got to be able to bring in new players but keep the old players happy, and a good press ganger's got to be able to balance the casual players that just want to hang out with the competitive players. They got to balance. They got to do that balancing act. They got to have something for both crowds. I mean, you can't make everyone happy. You can't please everybody, but you
Have you ever
got to see
turned
where
anybody
balancing
away
needs to happen.
from War Machine? Have you ever met someone you're like, maybe this isn't the game for you?
All the time, but then this hobby in general isn't for everyone. This is a niche hobby for a reason.
Okay. Um, would you think that War Machine could serve as a good gateway into miniature wargaming? I mean, the conventional thinking now is that Warhammer 40K is the gateway drug, and it's always going to be that way. Can you Do you see War Machine, or a possibility of War Machine um, taking 40K's place?
I do see that happening, and the thing is, War Machine is one of those games where you can learn the rules in about 15 to 20 minutes. And it just
Unless
takes
you're me,
longer. It just takes longer to master it. It's a lot like chess. Someone can sit you down and play a game of chess, but
right?
it takes years to master chess. But someone can teach you how to play chess in one sitting. War Machine's the same way. Someone can teach you how to play in one sitting and give you the basics, the basics of the game. But War Machine's a game that scales up and down. When I played 40K and I barely had stuff as a beginning player, people didn't really want to play me because I didn't have enough stuff yet. People didn't really start playing me until I had that tournament-sized army. And with War Machine, you could walk up to a player. You could walk up to a seasoned player who's been playing since Mark 1, has a huge collection going all the way back, and you could say, hey, can we play 15 points Mangled Metal? And they'll be like, yeah, sure, cool. And they'll bust out a Mangled Metal list.
I'll tell you
They'll do that.
my first demo was actually a couple of years ago in War Machine, and it kind of, I don't know if it was the guy doing it, but it kind of turned me off of the game. Was, he said, hey, I'll give you a demo of War Machine, and then he proceeded to stomp my nuts in, and I was like, what is this game?
Yeah,
And
you
it kind of gave me a bad taste.
when I do a demo, I don't just like show you how to play. I show you how to win, because I make a point to not win my own demo games, and
Yes,
generally I've done so many demos that they practically feel scripted to me.
I would think that's demo 101, right?
Yeah,
Is you let the new player have fun, and you let them win. It's surprising to me how often people do not do that, and it drives me up. I don't understand. Um, but anyways, going back to my little spiel there. So I didn't play War Machine for years after that. Um, I kind of thought that's pretty much what the community was, and I hope to dispel some rumors today, about the some misnomers about the War Machine community, because it was kind of one that I didn't think I could be a part of, um, but then I found Circle, and I was like, oh man, werewolves, I got to have those, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. The pretty much it's like Malifaux is the same thing with me. My first Malifaux demo came from a henchman who was just really impatient with me, and he had the mindset that because I owned some figures already, that I should have already knew how to play because I owned figures and read the rule book. Well, if you read a rule book before playing a game for the first time, what you read hasn't been made tangible yet.
Yeah.
So you're going to make mistakes and you're not going to know when to do what. And I thought, hey, so I'm already drawing blank on the name. She's an Arcanist, and she was like the stage performer. Are you drawing a blank too?
No. We got a Canvas comment. Tin Man's beard is the holy grail of neck beards. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I had my beard, instead of trimming it myself, I actually had the beard trimmed at the barber shop where I got my hair cut. So, like, all day long at work, compliments on the beard. And, where'd you go to get your beard trimmed? And I was like, I went to the barber college. They're like, barber college? What? Yeah, I got every month. I go $3 haircut Thursday because, like, I don't want to spend. It's like, why spend $15 when I can go over here and get it for $3? And I was like, well, it's another $3.50 for a beard trim. Dude did a really good job trimming my beard. And so all day long at work, compliments of, wow, yeah, that could turn out good. Where'd you go? You went to a barber college. But, yeah. And see, where were we, though, before we started talking about grooming?
We were talking about bad people who give bad demos. And there are, you were talking about your Malifaux experience. And
right, I'm trying to remember her name. She was an Arcanist, kind of a stage performer. Colette, yeah. I thought the Colette Dubois stuff looked gorgeous. And so I was like, oh, I want to try that, not realizing that she was, like, stupid complicated to use. And you don't throw that at a beginner in a demo kit. And so I'm just standing there, kind of staring like, and not really knowing how to do stuff or what to do. And he sat there being all impatient. And then he finally just kicked me out of his demo and then demoed someone else.
He kicked you out?
Yeah.
What?
He just literally kicked me to the curb to demo for someone else instead.
What the fuck? Who is this guy's name? No, just kidding. You don't have to say it.
But yeah, and
just found D-bag of the year.
So, anyways, I had my Lady Justice stuff half painted. Up until that point, I just kind of lost interest, didn't really work on her. And then Listen While You Play got into Malifaux. You remember when they got hardcore into Malifaux with her for there a while? They came up there, on like 4 or 5 different occasions. They came up to Bakersfield to play in tournaments with me. They brought their Malifaux stuff with them. Not the very last time they played with us, but the time before that. And after the tournament, we played a game. Now, in fact, that was the very first Malifaux battle report on my channel. Was these guys, Beat Freak, essentially taught me how to play Malifaux. And I went, oh, this is cool. Okay, I can get into this. And then later down the road, I started losing interest again over other issues. But I was like, I got the gist of the rule set from Beat Freak, Beat Freak and Blog. And that video, that is documented in a video that's on both YouTube and Blip TV of me essentially as the Death Marshals versus the Lilith Brood battle report that I did.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. And then I finished painting Lady Justice. One of the War Machine players who was there playing in that tournament became, Bakersfield's first henchman. and he got so into it, he made these like custom 3x3 boards. Showed up at his house, and then we recorded my second Malifaux battle
I
report.
remember that one. That was the one you did with Aaron, right?
Yeah, with Nance and with the Nance at his
Jeez.
place,
And
and
that fucker could drink. I'm just saying.
dude drinks like he's still in college. We're
Yeah.
doing keg stands, and I was like, I'm too old. He's older than me, but I'm like, I'm too old for this. I can't drink like this anymore. What's wrong with you? Plus, I show up at his house, he'd be wanting me to drink, and I'm like, dude, I gotta drive home. And the main avenue of traffic between my house and his house is also where they set up DUI checkpoints. I'm just like, nah, because
Right.
my luck, I'll be like, hey, was there an accident up ahead? Why are we slowing down? Oh no. Yeah. I don't have, $4,000 just lying around for a DUI. It's like,
At SmackDown, the last SmackDown, Jesus Christ, the fucking guy brought in like it was just like barrels of alcohol, and I'm like, who is going to drink all this? And he's like, I am.
I was drinking at SmackDown. The dude, one of the contenders for the mayor of Malifaux, his bribe was that he was fixing drinks.
Oh yeah, I remember that dude.
Already at the cooler. I
Yep.
was drinking his stuff because, like, you know what? I wasn't driving home. So because I wasn't driving home, I was just like, all right, Tom's driving.
I seriously, I kind of miss that SmackDown was I think it was the second one I went to, and it was really good, man. I hope things work out for him, and he gets his other con going, because we definitely need more local cons, man.
That con built up such a good momentum in the 2012 con. Is like I got my local game store. I actually got Paladin's Game Castle there. Pretty much, Adam actually cut them a really good deal simply because they knew me. And I showed up there and I said, I'm not going to play in a tournament because I noticed that the SoCal War Machine crowd was becoming more and more competitive, and they weren't just showing up to have a good time like they were at the 2010 conventions. And at the original SoCal SmackDown, they seemed to be more cutthroat competitive, and I was kind of rubbing me the wrong way. So I was like, I'm just going to play casual games and get footage for Steam-powered TV. But I had a blast,
Oh yeah, I think that was the most gaming I've done in like a 2-day period ever. Yeah. Speaking of cons, so not only do you demo at game stores, but you are at Anime Bakersfield, right? How long have you been doing that?
Well, pretty much it started with the Bakersfield Comic Con, which is ran by the same people, and pretty much we're set up to do demos there. And I was doing War Machine demos at the Bakersfield Comic Con. Well, the very first Bake Anime, because the organizer will angrily correct me on mispronouncing the con. Pretty much,
nobody's watching this shit. So
yeah, he might see it. Who knows, But he's like, I saw you on that show on YouTube, and you said Back Anime again, didn't you? He'll just know, But anyways, the very first Bake Anime, I was just a guest. I wasn't running anything. The second time I did demos at Bakersfield Comic Con, the organizer walked up to Kurt, who owns Paladin, and he said, "Oh, by the way, this next Bake Anime that we're doing for the second one, we're going to have like a gaming section in there." And that's when I kind of stepped up and said, I'd like to run some War Machine stuff there. So I did a small War Machine tournament. By small, I mean we literally had 4 players playing.
Damn, I could have won that shit, son. Could have won that one.
But literally, it was just on a Sunday in January that just didn't work out for a lot of people. And pretty much the irony is that the one guy that just could never show up for things managed to show up that day. and then just 3 of my more reliable regulars can make it, but a bunch of other people just couldn't make it. But I didn't do demos. It's like I literally ran a tournament, and then it was like, okay, I want to do this 15-point tournament so we could get the tournament over quickly, so that then players are free to enjoy the rest of the con and do other stuff, because I didn't want to be that tournament organizer that just locked people into one thing for the whole con. Because that's one thing I didn't enjoy about SoCal SmackDown. Like, hey, there's this whole con going on, but I'm stuck in on a tournament. Not really my idea of fun to be stuck doing one thing when there's a bunch of stuff going on, because I'll be looking around like, hey, what's that? Ooh, what's that?
I would think, for me, I plan on going to Kingdom Con, and I kind of want to see what a War Machine tournament's like,
But pretty much, I ran that con. I ran the tournament there. We played. The tournament lasted 3 hours. And then I did casual demos. We had casual gaming. I actually recorded, I think, 1 or 2 battle reports that day. And now it's like the old school battle reports where I just do the turn-by-turn recaps.
Right.
And I also recorded, like, a video of the con itself that turned out pretty well. I even had some footage I used in my intro for a while, where I had there was a couple of my buddies that cosplayed as characters from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
and then they did like a smack up, and then I used that footage there.
That's pretty cool. So if I go to Bakersfield Anime, what kind of things am I to expect? Like what goes on at Bakersfield Anime?
Well, let's see. There'll be a lot of little workshops that you'll see. There'll be guest appearances. They tend to get a celebrity guest who does usually voice actors. And although there's also some pressure to get bring in some animators from Japan who've worked on things, that'd be pretty cool too. You'll see a lot of cosplayers in costume dressed up as their favorite anime characters. In fact, the cosplay ball is like one of the biggest things about the con.
Okay.
The game stores will be there doing stuff. What they did for this very last one, which I got video footage for.
Are there going to be any famous, YouTubers there? Oh wait, that's not Adepticon. Sorry. All right, I should have to throw that in. Okay.
All right. Well, pretty much. Well, actually, there could be the Screen Team. They're local. They do geek parodies.
Oh yeah, I know them.
Yeah, they're local. I've actually met them. I've actually appeared in one of their videos.
Yeah, I remember. I saw that.
Yeah, the back of me, anyway, I should say, appeared in one of their videos. But they could very likely show up at I haven't seen them at a back anime, or if they did, I didn't notice them, because they like to wear costumes, and people that like to wear costumes don't always stand out. They could show up at a back anime very, very easily and do their thing there. But so yeah, and in terms of popularity, will they be way popular than the Wargaming establishment? But anyways,
yeah, hey, that is interesting. Just to derail this real quick, I gotta ask your opinion on this, because I mean we both do YouTube videos, right? And but what do you think about these? The big channels that just want to be famous. I mean, sometimes I think like they'd be better off doing video games or board games. The board game YouTube community's much bigger than the miniature wargaming.
Some people see niches, and when they see a niche, they see an opportunity, but the opportunity isn't always there. If I got into YouTube, and if I wanted to get popular on YouTube, if Steam Power TV was about being popular, I wouldn't have been talking about gaming at all. I'd have just been ranting about things. I'd be another one of these, because I I'd be one of these angry fat guy rantings here. You know, just
I
about
love
whatever.
Angry Fat Guy rants. My favorite ranter, I hope he's still watching, is Canvas has like the best fucking rant of all time. One of my favorite rants was when there was actual blowback from the community. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a certain uh, British personality, I'll call her. She wasn't a wargamer. She was more of a wannabe celebrity, and she had put out a couple of videos, on Warhammer Fantasy, and then she was getting pretty popular, and all of a sudden she's like, "Bam! Pay for my shit!" And then Canvas was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then he launched into this whole rant about it, and I just thought it was brilliant. I thought it was the most brilliant thing I've ever seen on YouTube, and I don't know why you took it down. So if you're still watching, tell me why you took that down, man. Let me know.
Yeah. I mean,
That shit was
seriously, though,
classic.
if I wanted to get big on YouTube, my thing would be be an antagonist that just made fun of other YouTubers, and I would have done the Ray William Johnson shtick.
Hey, I think
That'll get you
that
popular
might
real
that
quick,
might be
but not
good.
in the way you might want to be.
You know what we need is one that makes fun of just the wargaming YouTube channels.
Somebody tried that, the blowback. They couldn't take the blowback.
Well, oh, who was that? Who was that?
I think it wasn't it was like trying to remember. It wasn't Awesome Paint Job. It wasn't Lester. It was some. I think it was Wargame Painting. He
Wargame
decided to
Pete.
do yeah. I think he decided to do like a troll character for a while, and he was making fun of other YouTubers, and he made the mistake of making fun of Terrainaholic, who's like this really nice guy that no one really has anything bad to say about.
Uh-huh.
Who's kind of like the Mr. Rogers of the wargaming community, and just you went to his page, you read the comments. It was just a whole bunch of people showing up to call him an a-hole for it, and and he ended up taking those videos down and apologizing.
Dude, if you're gonna do that, I think you better have well, one, you already got the balls, so I mean, you should have
Well,
you should have thick skin.
this was like 2010, 2011, I want to say. Like yeah, this was like 2011. The wargaming community on YouTube was very different back then. The sort of the rise of the pretty girl gamers that hadn't happened yet, and the the wargamer establishment, the elitists
Yeah.
didn't
Oh
take over yet.
God.
We were still more of a family back then.
I wish it would. I wish it was back in those days, man. I cannot. I cannot fucking stand the elite, our leaders of our community. And I know we were talking.
Well, who elected them? I didn't vote for anybody. I mean, seriously, what makes
Right.
them leaders? What, because they got more subscribers? Who cares?
No, well, what's even worse is I think what they're leading towards, and it's becoming an alarming trend, is where we have to pay them just to watch. There's that whole vault. You have to be a member of the vault, and you get to see our videos, and it's the same crap you could watch for free, but we just want you to pay because we're celebrities. And one of the
Yeah.
biggest offenses I think was when someone asks you to pay for their camera equipment and their laptop. You know what I mean? It's your fucking hobby, man.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's like the same of asking me. I really want Incursion, but I want you guys to pay for it so you can watch me play it.
That's. I think I know some of the people you're talking about. This is crazy. I mean, you know what helped me? I was broke. People don't realize just how broke I was throughout most of Steam Powered TV. I mean, I was working with a G4 iMac that I got back in 2004. So when I started Steam Power TV, my computer was already obsolete. It was already like 4 years old. And when I started doing HD video on that thing, I had to leave my computer on overnight to render the video and hope and pray that I didn't make some mistake that would force me to have to re-edit and recompile the video, and I had to do that a couple of times before uploading it.
I'm still at that stage where like rendering will take me, 6-7 hours, for like one battle.
Oh, this was worse than that. Let's see, the Malifaux battle report that we mentioned earlier with the Nats at his house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, when I finished editing that, and I did that pretty systematically, where I worked on one round each day, and I went back over the footage. I compiled each round as a separate video. Then I kind of recombined everything, did the music editing, worked some other stuff in. Yeah. It was about, I'm going to say, 9 at night ish, 10 at night ish. I finalize it, and then I use MPEG Streamclip to convert it into HD video, and I could convert it into something that I can upload to Blip TV, and have it going. I go to sleep with my computer on. I get up the next morning and I go to work. I was a substitute teacher. I think I went and worked at one of the elementary schools here. I can't remember. I think it was like a special day class, so it was like special ed kids. I was working with special ed kids all day.
Mm-hmm.
And those are actually some of my favorite days with special ed. Those kids are pretty laid back. And to kind of do my thing, just helping them with their math, helping them with their writing and all that. Then day ends, I come home. On my way home, I did what I always did on my way home. I swung by the game store, said hi to folks, talked some trash, and then from there, I continued on home, just in time for the video to finish rendering.
Damn. Hey, we got another comment from Canvas. Dude, Blue Table's Painting, we're taking donations to pay for the paint renovation of their studio. What the fuck is that? Yeah, man.
They're a business. Come on.
My thing is, here's what I want to ask the community, if they even watch my shit. Who are these people that just give money to these channels? Like, somebody's like, hey, I think it was Mini Wargaming that was like, hey, we want to make a studio, and it's like 17 grand. Here you fucking go. Like, we want you to make videos. Here's 17 grand.
What happened to that game, that original game that they developed?
Oh, Jesus Christ, that's the worst. Okay, I said 40K was the worst game. I've always said that. But I stand corrected. Dark Potential. That's a shitty fucking game, and those miniatures are like way over fucking priced, man.
I just saw the sculpts and went, next. You ain't getting my money on this.
Those are the most uninspired sculpts I've ever seen.
Someone told me that the rule set was basically War Machine and Infinity having a baby, and someone else pretty much said the same thing. They just said this game is really derivative of other games in a way that blatantly obvious. So most games, there's only so many different ways you could roll dice.
But I mean, okay.
But
even okay, if we could agree that even if that's a shitty game, right? And it's pretty obvious it's a shit game. But I mean, at least they're selling something. But when it's like, hey, just give us money to so you can see us on YouTube or watch our videos. I think that's like the worst fucking thing. It just I don't know. My head's exploding right now.
I gotta say I'm slightly hypocritical on this because I did consider it myself, but talked myself out of it.
But you changed your mind, right? I mean,
yeah.
Well, okay. I mean,
yeah, it just boiled down to like, this is my hobby. I'm not trying to do this for a living. But my issue is I was getting frustrated with the fact that I was working with an obsolete computer, and I was working with some obsolete equipment. But what did I do? I just said, I just pulled myself up by my bootstraps, as I like to say, and I just made sacrifices. I bought this new computer, even though I could not afford it. It was just getting to a point where on my old computer I couldn't browse the internet anymore. I couldn't use Facebook anymore. That's how obsolete it got. It was a good computer. Thing was a tank, but it just couldn't keep up with what was needed of it just to surf the web.
Right.
So I made a sacrifice, and even though I could not afford it, I did this thing where I paid for half of it in the store, straight from my checking account. The other half I put on a credit card that I couldn't really afford to make do anything more than just make little minimum payments, and then I kind of floated that until I got my tax return where I was able to knock that out. That's how I got the computer I got now. Then later I got myself a job. Not this substitute teaching nonsense. Like, substitute teachers don't make money. Substitute teachers teaching is feast or famine. There'll be that month where you get a lot of work, and you might get a good check, and a good check for a substitute teacher, let's face it, it's like $800. It's less than minimum wage. It's pretty much, if all you have time for is part-time work, then it's good work if you could get the work, but it's feast or famine. I finally got myself a full-time job working for a company that I'm not allowed to mention, and I won't because I like having a job, but full-time pay meant, hey, I could put a little bit aside and get myself something every now and then.
Right.
So I bought this camera I'm looking at right now. Is an HD webcam. I was able to buy that. My Blue Snowball here. Professional quality microphone. A lot of my favorite Blip TV personalities use this. Jezu Otaku, who does an anime review show that I've been watching for years. She uses this microphone. A lot of my favorite personalities from Blip TV use this very same microphone. So I was ecstatically happy to be able to get the same microphone. I've mostly used it for Dice Rage Live, but the very last battle report I used it, and I just like the fact that my voice sounded crisp and clean, and it actually sounded like my real voice. And there's other equipment and stuff that I've gotten that because I just got myself a full-time job. The flip side is,
you do what you have to do. A lot of my stuff is old and outdated, but I still use it. And the thing is, I don't ask my listeners for much. I mean, I did recently monetize my channel, but that was because it was a requirement of broadband TV. They approached me and said, they wanted to partner up. I got scouted, and I was like, fuck yeah, why not? I have a small channel. It felt nice to get some sort of recognition.
Oh yeah.
So I signed up with them, but one of the requirements was that
there's nothing wrong with collecting ad revenues. It's opportunistic. It's not in a bad way. But
right.
It's like if I'm going to spend.
You have to do is sit through maybe a couple seconds of some ad that they don't really care about, and it goes away.
Yeah.
But there's a difference. There's a difference in this trend where basically these big channels, they want us to shell out actual money just to see them, and this has to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be a fucking blowback from this. By the way, if you're one of the guys that have contributed or sent money to one of these channels just so that they can, buy new camera equipments or studios, you know what? I need to talk to you because
let's put it this way:
way too much money. You have
years
way too much money.
When people got together to give a YouTuber money, that was because something bad happened. Like when Nataku had his heart attack.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
You
Yeah.
know, people were sending him PayPal donations. The
Right.
amount of money Nutaku got when in his hour of need, when he was having like health problems and people were trying to help him out because he suddenly hit with hospital bills and everything else. And I remember rubbish in, rubbish out, and a lot of YouTubers were kind of were rallying people to the cause on that. The amount of money he actually got is infinitesimal compared to what the wargaming establishment's getting, just so they can beg us for better equipment that they should just make the sacrifices and buy themselves.
I know. I know. It's criminal. It's criminal what's happening here, and it. I almost want to partly blame the community for contributing. Like, what are they? What are you guys thinking? Like, I mean, it's your money, right? You want to do with your money what you want to do, but I just want to know why. Like, why are you? I don't know. I guess you're allergic to your cash or something, or you just got way too much of it and you just got to get rid of it. Someone explain this to me.
I I think like some of these establishment channels, they're connected to so many things that if they wanted to make money, they could just produce something and sell it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
I mean,
Yeah.
like
Dork Potential made a huge amount of money on the Kickstarter. You know.
that was reasonable though.
Yeah.
But simply give us money so we could upgrade our studio. Granted, at risk of sounding hypocritical, I was tempted that myself. That is a huge temptation. And someone said to me, "Well, gosh, Steve, you've got 1,000 subscribers. If each of them gave you $1, what would you have?" And that's tempting, especially when you're flat out broke. When you're so broke that you're sitting McDonald's and you're going, "Do I really?" It's like, well, I could get the McDouble. Do I want fries with that? That's how broke I got. That's how
Oh
broke I
man, that's yeah.
SoCal SmackDown, every single SoCal SmackDown I went to, the very first SoCal SmackDown I went to, I got my tax return, so it was good. But SoCal SmackDown 2011 and SoCal SmackDown 2010, I was pretty much borrowing money from Tom to be able to go. Like I had a little something for myself, but I ended up having to pay Tom back after after I got a paycheck after that, because the SoCal SmackDowns were happening Labor Day weekend before I even got my first paycheck of the school year.
Hang on, we got a couple
Generally,
comments here. It's one of those key factors that made me close my original channel. This is Candace speaking. I got disgusted with the e-begging. I could see that. There have been a couple of times where I wanted to just quit YouTube altogether myself. So I'm with you on that. And then we got Painted Octave. We should just refer to those channels as pro channels and use it in a derogatory fashion like pro painted. Huh. We could start that. What do you think about that?
I remember the very first advice I gave someone about buying used models was, if it says pro painted, don't buy it.
That's right. So if it's a pro channel, don't watch it. It's garbage.
Well, it's like miniwargaming.com. I find myself watching their videos, but they're old stuff from back in the day.
Yeah. Right.
Before they went down the road. I think what it was is just they kind of went down this road of they wanted to produce better and better content, but then ended up digging themselves into a hole that they couldn't climb back out of. But I remember when their videos just used to be straight up fun. Right. And now, like, the humor and everything seems more manufactured.
Yeah. And now they've got, spin-off channels now that are asking us for money. That Codex Dan guy started his own channel. Like, the very first video, he's like, "Hey, guys, I need money." And once again, the retarded community decides, "Sure, let's give you money." And I'm like, okay.
Well, you know what? Send the Tin Man some money. I'm a
Yeah,
black
man.
guy, so I'm not gonna pass up free money.
You
Free
guys
money.
want some incursion
You want
video?
to-
But someone buy me a box of incursion. Yeah,
Actually, it'd be more like if you see me at a con and you got some donuts, you could spare one for me, right?
right.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's that like Blue Table Painting, they've been shady from like that from the get go. A lot of people don't realize that.
You know, blue table painting. God, I know, I didn't want to mention people by name, but fuck it. It's my show. No one
Well, someone
watches
already
it.
mentioned it in a comment,
Oh
so
yeah, that's right. All right, I was just blame canvas. Blue table painting. They have like what I wanted to mention was like if I look up War Machine bat reps, right? I don't get on the top searches. I don't see Tin Man. I see a bunch of blue table shit. And then you watch the battle report, and it's like they make up the fucking rules as they go. Like they don't understand. I don't think anyone reads the
you
rule
can't
books
even
over
you
there.
can't even follow their stuff. It's like they don't know what they're doing. And if you leave comments pointing out that they're wrong, your comments end up deleted, or Sean gets in there and then
Right.
has
I
words with you. That's
I once
like,
left a comment that got deleted. I was like, "Hey man, you guys are like the Fox News of battle reports," and then it just like never went anywhere.
but
You just
they
deleted it.
and many wargaming.com's kind of guilty of this too, but I remember because I've been a press ganger since 2008. I've been doing Steam Power TV since 2008, but I've been making War Machine videos since 2007 with my original channel. And back in 2007, it was very different. I mean, you just kind of combed and sifted through YouTube to try to find something War Machine. And back then, miniwargaming.com and Blue Table Painting, they didn't acknowledge War Machine. I'm sorry about that. They didn't acknowledge War Machine's existence. I remember there was an old video where they were showing off a custom table, and they had like Alistair Kane on the table from Signar. They had a Carnivian from Legion, and they were referred to as D&D minis.
What? What?
Yeah, they wouldn't even acknowledge the game's existence. Miniwargaming.com had a
Shut
contest.
the fuck up, man.
Right, Miniwargaming.com had a terrain building contest. The Bug King, who was a regular at the time, I don't know if he still is. I haven't seen anything from him in a while. He was a regular in the Privateer press forums, in the terrain and table building forums.
Uh-huh.
He submitted a Crix table, and his write-up about it was that this was a Crix themed table from War Machine. They wouldn't acknowledge it as, I think they described it as a chaos table. Mini Wargaming did. They wouldn't acknowledge that it was from War Machine. Someone did a Signar themed diorama, like with like a mad scientist lair
Yeah.
sort of setup, like a Victorian mad scientist lair. That was supposed to be like Nemo's workshop, and it had various Signar bits and stuff in there. It had the voltaic coils, all that stuff. It looked gorgeous, and they didn't acknowledge that, even though you could see the Cygnus, you can see the swan there, the Signar swan there on there. You can see the symbol of Signar in that diorama. They wouldn't acknowledge it. They didn't acknowledge War Machine until out of the blue, one of the people that used to be on that channel called Fireman Tim did a video called War Machine Kador Army, where he talked up the game, and that's when you started to see them do War Machine content.
Jesus. Yeah, I do remember Fireman Tim. Yeah. But yeah, blue table painting, I don't know how they even get away as being like people go to them for information. Like who are you people? What is wrong with you? I
Yeah,
remember
but,
watching
back in
they
the
did
day,
a they did a showcase of, it's called Guild Malifaux figures, and there wasn't a single guild model.
wow.
It's
I
like,
still got a lot of my guild stuff. The only thing I sold was the Lady Justice crew, but I still have the Perdita, the Ortegas,
yeah.
and I still have there's like another crew I have. I still got my Ortegas, but there's another crew I have. Oh yeah, I still got my Witch Hunters. I still
Okay.
have Sonya Creed, like Sonya or Cried, however it's pronounced. But
Yeah. I
back
don't
in the
use.
day, like back in
Oh,
2006, 2007, in terms of shows on YouTube, Blue Table Painting was one of the only ones where they produced like regular content where you can subscribe to them and almost set your watch to new content
right.
because they're
Okay.
always producing stuff. But it was a business. It was a business using YouTube as a part of its business model, and they're kind of the established part of the establishment now.
Yep. No,
But
I mean they are one of the bigger channels. And it's funny to me that people go there with, you know, the hopes of learning how to play a game, and then they get this completely retarded version of the game. And
or the
actually,
mispronunciations
this
of the
is a true story.
factions.
I'm not making this shit up. I went to I was part of a War Machine League at my local game store, and you know, all of us were new. Like none of us knew how to fucking play the game. And we were playing the I think it was Killing Fields, where there's three objectives in the middle of the table. Is that Killing
Yeah.
Fields? Or
Yeah, that sounds like Killing Fields.
okay, so we're playing that, and you know, I move my caster up to score an objective, and the guy's like, "Oh, you know, casters don't they can't score objectives." And I'm like, "Well, where does it say that in the rules?" And he's like, "Oh, I saw it on a Blue Table battle report." I'm like, "Dude,
I mean, get out of here!
get the fuck out of here! Get off my table!" No.
You got to look at the scenario and what it's from. Like in Steamroller, there's different rules for warcasters taking objectives and whatnot.
Well, yeah,
But that's
Steamroller,
Steamroller.
the warcaster can dominate, right? He can
Yeah,
actually score double points, right? Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And generally, objectives are there to be destroyed, not taken. So it's like you destroy the objectives and then you control flags and zones. When a warcaster controls a zone or a flag, then it's dominate. They get an extra point.
I just thought that was the funniest thing I ever heard, though. It's like, I learned from Blue Table Painting. And I'm like, yeah, don't
I
ever
can
do
do
that.
science, me.
Don't ever do that. That's like, that's like going to Joey Berry for advice on painting.
You know, I had subscribed to her for a while. I was following her on YouTube. I mean, on Twitter, and when I was a Malifaux player, but because I thought she had some personality going on, but then this one day I realized she doesn't seem to know what she's talking about.
She doesn't. Yeah, yeah. That's the problem I have with the establishment is they're not actual. My main problem is they wouldn't pass the gamer smell test. You know what I mean? Not the actual smell test. I know that there's a
Hey, somebody showered. What?
no,
Hey,
not that
me,
smell test.
I'm the opposite. When I go to a tournament or something, I gotta make sure I get my shower in because I don't want to be the smelly guy. That happened to me. Like, I was like, I showed up at my one of the games at the Paladin one day, and it was on the day of their Yu-Gi-Oh day, and the gamer funk was just off the scale.
It was off the chain, son.
And I had just showered, but I had walked out, and the smell had followed me. And these women were walking by, one of them pushing a stroller, talking about, man, every time I walk by that place, it stinks, and everyone that comes out of there stinks. And I was just like, oh man, come on, no, it's not like that. I just took a shower like an hour ago because I had sub PE that day, and when I sub PE, I was either standing around and kind of just watching the kids, but sometimes I just get in and play with the kids. It just depends on the circumstance, what kind of PE class I was subbing that day. Turned out to be a smaller school, smaller classes. I didn't have like multiple groups of kids to keep an eye on. I got in and played basketball with the kids. I led exercises all day long, jumping jacks, everything. So I get home from work, showered, all that, and I go swing by the game store to like pick up some paint because I think I'd ran out of something. I'm walking out with my bottle of paint, ready to go home and paint some. A group of women walking by. Every time I go by that place, the smell coming out of there. And the people are coming out of there smelling bad. And I'm just like, I couldn't say nothing. Because what are you supposed to do? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to be like, no, I don't smell. Hey, me.
Yeah. But not, I'm not talking about that smell does. I'm talking about, like it just.
And when you talk about gaming and smell, the topic's got to come up.
Yeah. It just, to me, it seems like the game community as a whole has lowered their standards on who who is leading their community on. Like, there are just people that I could just put on a video, hey, I'm all about this, and I don't have to prove it,
Well, people seem to confuse production values with substance.
Yeah.
They see the high production values, they think they're watching something better than just some guy with a camera that he happened to get on clearance. So the guy with the clearance camera and an imagination making the most of what he's got, I don't cut it. They want the cable television quality production values, and sometimes just because the production values are high doesn't mean that the content, that the substance is there.
It's just it's quite often the opposite.
I would compare it to like The Sandlot. One of my favorite scenes is when they took on the Little League team. They all had their uniforms and everything, but the kids from The Sandlot just whooped them. It was like one of my favorite scenes in that story, because it's like this is a good analogy, is because the kids in The Sandlot, they had the passion. They didn't have the money, but they had the passion. Well, you had the wealthier kids showing up with their fancy uniforms and whatnot, but they couldn't play. But some people will look and they'll see the wealthier kids with their fancy uniforms and equipment and go, "Oh, well, these kids look like they can play." Meanwhile, the kids in The Sandlot, who've got the passion and the drive, they're better players. And the kids from The Sandlot whoop the richer kids with their fancy uniforms on. It was one of my favorite scenes in that movie.
Yeah, but don't you think, like, for some reason, in other communities, like, this shit would not fly? Like, for example, I don't just watch wargaming, tabletop wargaming on YouTube. I recently got into playing Smash Brothers. Okay, and don't make fun of me. Fuck you guys. No. So I got into playing Smash. So I was watching Smash tournament coverages, right? And you could tell the announcers and the people that cover the games are actually Smash players, right? And if they weren't, that shit would sound ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I just wondered, like, why isn't there a blowback from our community? Like, why isn't there a thing? You guys are posers. You guys are full of shit. And stop watching their shit, community. What the hell?
Well, it's like the stuff I watch. I like to watch the reviewer community. I like to watch That Guy with the Glasses and these other shows where they do movie reviews, video game reviews.
Right.
In the reviewer community, if somebody just tries to slip in there to make a buck, they're exposed really quickly for what they are.
Yeah, I know.
If you show up trying to be a nostalgia critic wannabe, you're exposed for what you are really quickly. If you're trying to be a spoony wannabe, you're exposed very quickly for what you are. If you're trying to be an angry video game nerd wannabe, exposed very quickly for what you are. You can't get away with that. So in the wargaming community, you can get away with that right now, but like the reviewer community, they're just like, it's like blood in the water.
Yeah. So why do you think it is that way right now? Like,
I don't think the general audience is fully hip to what's going on.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. And I think us smaller channels really need to do more. Really need to counter organize, and we need to forge our own identity.
We need to rise up and shine like diamonds. Yes,
Not as
I
much
am
rise
totally for
up,
that.
but just kind of pull together and
Yeah.
just forge our own identity that is independent of them, and kind of look out for each other the way we used to. You know,
I
the
agree,
way we
man.
were looking out for each other like 10 years ago. That's
And
one of the things I was trying to do with Dice Rage was getting
yeah,
the
speaking of dice range, I do have I do have a question for you because you know you've asked me a couple of times to join the site. Every time I log in, it says hey, create an account, and then I click it and nothing happens, and I can never create my account, man.
Yeah, we've been having some issues with our software. Pretty much what I would do is like you want to join is I can create an account for you and then send you the password and information, and then you
Okay,
can be able to log
I
in.
appreciate that because
And I'll probably do that for you and Octave, and anyone watching that's got a show. Um, Pretty much we used to have an application process, but pretty much myself and the site admin, who's also my best friend from the 5th grade, who's not a gamer himself, but he helps me out with the site. We've both gotten lazy about things. Happens because he's got his responsibilities and I've got mine. So I think the site's still down for maintenance and has been so for a while, even though it's supposed to be just down for a day.
hmm.
But with my work schedule, I have a hard time being able to get a hold of and talk to my best friend about things. So, which is, of course, Gillig, the site admin. In fact, I want to actually have a look and see if the site is back up.
We got a comment again
All right.
from our two viewers. And what's surprising to me is the failure of the community to recognize patterns of take, like chasing and covering what is already popular, asking for money, and only acting in your interests. Yeah, I wish I could speak for the community somehow, but I don't. It's such an alien thought to me that they wouldn't, that they stand up for this bullshit. Uh, so I don't know what else to say, but maybe it really does have to start kind of a grass movement thing to combat these channels and call people out when we sense that they're heading towards that direction. Like they just don't again pass that smell test that I was talking about. When someone's just
Yeah.
you just know that hey, so they're just kind of in it for the money or the fame. And it's really funny to me because you get none of that here. Like go somewhere else. Do something else because there is no money or fame in tabletop wargaming.
I know. It's like, so if I want to be famous on YouTube, I wouldn't have been doing the wargaming thing. That's for sure.
Yep.
Um, I had kicked around the idea of doing movie reviews myself because I used to, I love movies and I love horror films, and I, like I said, when I love talking about movies because I used to work at a Hollywood Video back when Hollywood Video was in business, and I've just I've watched so many movies. I actually burnt out a VCR and had to get a new one that wasn't as good as the VCR that I burnt out. But that's how it goes. Back if you remember the VCRs back in the day, for you old fogies that remember having those.
Or even
But
yeah, or even board games. It's surprising to me how big the board gaming community is. Just it's a lot larger than the tabletop wargaming community. Just go there. I just don't want to see you. Go away. I don't want you in my searches anymore. I don't want you in my recommended anymore. I
There's
just,
like there's a
you
certain
know?
someone I unsubscribe to, and it's YouTube because I watch more than just wargaming stuff on YouTube. Most of the stuff that's recommending to me is like um, just random stuff, movie trailers, things like that. So there's a channel I subscribe to who's got trailers for horror films, and
Uh-huh.
that's how I figure out what horror film I want to watch next half the time. And it's like stuff like that. Creepy pastas. I've gotten into creepy pastas recently, so there's a channel called Chilling Tales from Dark Nights that they're basically they'll take some of the creepy pastas and they'll read them dramatically set to music, so it's like a radio play and it's pretty cool. And I'll listen to that. Mainly, it's just one narrator reading the story, so it's like more like book on cassette than a radio play. But I'm sure that's going to develop. But if stuff, watch a lot of stuff like that, and I watch a lot of video game related stuff. I subscribe to a certain member of the Wargamer establishment, and suddenly YouTube shoving her videos in my face.
Yeah.
Like, come
Yeah.
on, I unsubscribed from
Yeah.
her because I don't want to watch your stuff anymore. I didn't want to stop popping up on my subscription stream anymore, and now you're shoving her in my face.
Thank
What
you,
the hell?
YouTube. But no thanks. Um, but you know what I would like to do is spend just a couple minutes here. We should be wrapping this up because we've wasted enough people's time. But there's a lot of guys out there that I wish would come back. And so I just wanted to uh, spend a couple moments. One of the guys I really wish would come back is Trojan Dan. If you're out there, stop, come back. Listen while you play. Like, why did they stop making videos?
They got really sick of the content ID matches on YouTube.
Oh God,
Because a
yeah.
big part of their videos, and just War Machine, was also the music they enjoyed while they played War Machine. I was listening
Yeah.
to
I
play.
can see that.
And these guys got me into dubstep. And these got me into progressive house, and because of their love of music on the show, and they're just sick and tired of they'd have a battle report video, and their stuff's getting tagged. I did tell them, I did tell Blog, I was like, how about you go over to Daily Motion? But Daily Motion has bots too.
Hmm.
And I also mentioned to him, like, you could post you could upload streaming video directly to Facebook within his Facebook group, so that members of his Facebook group could still watch videos from them. And I guess
How
he
large are
tried
those
that,
uploads?
but
How large uploads can you do for that?
you can actually go pretty large. You can do HD video right there on Facebook. In fact, honestly, if I worked for Facebook, the one thing I'd be trying to do is go after YouTube. Because Google's been going after them for years. The one thing I would do, YouTube, that Facebook's already set up to do, all they have to do is the Facebook pages, they can set those up to be show pages for video very easily.
Yeah, I think I would probably even get into that. One of the reasons I didn't want to get into the other channels or the other, what you got Vimeo, you got Blip. What were the other ones?
Well, see, Vimeo, you got to pay them for the privilege of uploading because you're limited to 500 megs per week unless you pay for a Plus account. You also got to pay for bandwidth. And a lot of people don't know this. So if your video becomes popular, so I don't know, let's say something really funny happens during a battle report or something,
Yeah.
and I get spread around, Vimeo could hit you with a bill for your bandwidth.
What?
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that about them. Vimeo is mostly for, like, if you're in Hollywood and you're trying to make a name for yourself as a professional, Vimeo is where people post their demo reels and post their videos to showcase their editing talent. Their cinematography. If you want to become a cinematographer and you want to put stuff out there, Vimeo. Blip TV, I would be trying. I tried to get people on when I first started Dice Rage. the original lineup of Dice Ragers did go to Blip TV with me. Southern Signar, that's someone I'd love
Is
to.
that where he went? For
Southern
real?
Signar went to Blip TV with us.
Oh
Um,
man, I loved his dystopian war stuff. He was one of my favorite guys that would
he,
do
yeah, he stopped.
dystopian war bat reps, man.
Oh yeah, he stopped making videos altogether, even on Blip. But he went over the Blip. The
Yeah,
Page
I
Five
dug his stuff.
Canadians, Page Five Canadians, they went to Blip with us. I tried to get Block and Bleatfic to go to Blip with us, but they don't like ads. They don't like advertisements on videos at all. They're kind of purists like that.
Cameron, if you're watching this, just Jesus Christ, just come back. Dude,
But
I
here's the
miss those
thing: what
battle
happened with
reports.
Blip
Those
was
are
that,
like one of my favorite battle reports. Is Cam and
and Chris,
yeah.
yeah,
You
I
know
miss
what
him too.
highlights? A lot of people miss this when they try to do a bat rep or the pro channels. What they miss is not just the accuracy of the rules and the game, but just having fun.
Hmm.
It that's what this should be about, and you can tell that the pro channels, it's more about presentation and you know graphics and lasers pew pew and shit like that.
You know what I'm
And
gonna do? Because I've got a couple battle reports sitting in the back burner that I haven't really been able to work on. One thing I've been threatening to do is I got a box of crayons around here somewhere. And
okay,
I've got like a Crayola drawing pad, and I was going to like do mock-up stuff
yeah.
to be the graphics, just to make fun of all that. So I'd have a crudely drawn Warjack with a damage grid, and then
Freaking sweet, man.
just for the represent the damage, it's like, okay, let me just shoot a crude video of myself marking the damage here on this
You know what's
grid
funny
with
about
crayons.
those videos? It's like, God, they like first turn. It's like, and then this moved, and then we have to see the dice roll. If you watch the video, it's half of the video is watching dice rolls, and I'm like, how is that entertaining to anyone?
I would spend maybe a quarter of it, like, a second and a quarter on the dice rolls themselves on mine. But that's what
Yeah,
it could turn into really quickly, because I've edited those type of videos, because after I did the Malifaux video, I was like, wow, this turned out so well, I want to do War Machine videos like this, and I moved away from the recaps. And I
yeah,
was doing that too, but it's like, yeah, you can get carried away if you try to capture every single dice roll.
yeah. It's crazy, and it's like, hey, you could just tell me what you fucking hit. All right, I'll be able. Yeah, I'm smart enough to realize. Okay, you hit. Yeah.
My thing
Unless
about
it's like
capturing the dice rolls is just
dice roll,
capturing those moments
I'll
that
do that
go.
for my Blood Bowl videos when it's really important. And Blood Bowl is really easy to do that for because every dice roll is pretty much do or die.
Yeah.
But you could really focus in on one like suspenseful dice roll. It'll work in that sense where it's suspenseful. But if you do it for every single roll, it's just maddening. I
Yeah,
don't know.
main thing is you just want to capture those moments. Yeah, maybe that moment where you just roll spectacularly bad, or that moment where you roll really well. Like there was a game I was rolling where me and my opponent were just dropping boxcars, and I was just going boxcars, yo. Had a picture of a train come up on the screen with some boxcar, the couple of boxcars,
Right.
going boxcars, yo.
All right. Well, we got one final comment from Play It Painted. The big board game guys are mostly legit, though, and you can tell that they actually play like Tom Bassel. That crowd seems to be sharper and less tolerant of posers. Amen. I think it is like midnight here. I
Yep,
think we
midnight
should
for me
end on
too.
that note. Hey, if anyone watches this later, I think we should we should develop higher standards as a community on who we let represent us. That's all I'm
Exactly.
saying. Tin Man, your final thoughts on all this?
Pretty much. It was good hanging out. Can't wait to see you up here in Bakersfield for Back Anime. Hopefully we'll get the days off for work. Although, I may have to I'm gonna have to get some incriminating evidence on somebody to be able to get that time that I need. But pretty much looking forward to Back Anime.
Let me know. Seriously, I would love to. I would love to help you out up there. I'm pretty much the worst War Machine player ever. So I don't know if you want me on the team, but
well, the plan is to make the demos bigger. The demo aspect is showing things off aspect bigger, and we're talking about having demos in the hallway out amongst the people and all that.
Yeah.
And I think, and because in the past it was always like me doing War Machine, Hero Clicks guy doing Hero Clicks, our local Man in Black doing the Steve Jackson games. And that's about it. If we get more people doing more games, we can kind of make that up into something more. Pretty much like I said earlier in the episode, I think some of us who are just hobbyists on here, if we pull together and kind of support each other, we can wedge out a niche that is independent of the establishment, so that we're not as caught in their tide and not as caught in their gravitational pull.
Right.
And I think we can forge something for ourselves. And I'm not saying we're going to usurp the establishment, but I'm thinking that when people kind of realize that there's a difference between a show with a lot of money and a show with a lot of heart, the pendulum is going to swing back to us where it was in the first place, where it was back in 2009 and 2010 and 2011. That's all I'm saying.
I hope so. I do sometimes have a bleak outlook on this subject, but I see a lot of new guys coming to YouTube that are doing good things, and hopefully, my thing is I want to find more good channels, highlight them, bring them on this show, even though I don't think anyone watches this show. But I think that's a step, is we start acknowledging each other's existence in some way, and we support each other. So, on that note, I should say, because I just spilled paint all over the place. I can fucking believe that. I think we should say goodnight to everybody, man. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one.
I keep on wargaming. Hopefully this coming Wednesday we'll do another Dice Rage live. Was going to do one last Wednesday, but had a migraine. Neek, Butcher, Spudnik, he was sick. So pretty much that kind of derailed that episode there. Hopefully we'll have another one coming up. Hopefully we could breathe some life back into Dice Rage, because I think Dice Rage is a way for us to is a rallying point for us to pull together and get something done. I know it's crude. Like I said, we don't have the best equipment or the best money, and when it comes to that sort of thing, so we can't have the most professional looking website, but it can still be ours.
Yeah, man. I want to help you out in any way I can. Yeah, you could hit me up with that account. We'll start there, and we could diversify on some of the videos, so it's not all War Machine.
Well, originally I didn't mean
fan.
for Dice Rage to be a War Machine site. It's just because I'm the War Machine guy. It was mostly War Machine shows.
Right. No. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, hopefully I could contribute by throwing in some, my Blood Bowl content, and I do, some anima tactics, and I'm looking forward to this Super Dungeon Explorer arena. So
I've been hearing about that.
It's really good. It's a really fun game.
That it's like it plays more like a skirmish game.
It is, and it's meant for fast like tournament plays, and I think it's going to change the game scene around. You know,
Plus, I think that
and,
the figures look awesome. I like the chibi look.
yeah, I've been painting them tonight. So, whoops, where's my camera? I can't even tell. Here's a little skull guy. I got paint all over this stuff though. It's really pissed me off. I painted it, and then I spilled. Damn it. Anyways,
Yeah, it reminds me
thanks
of
for
like
coming on my show. I appreciate it. I know we're a little rough around the edges, but like I said, I hope you guys got something out of this, and hopefully I can bring more channels that are doing good for the community or are positive forces, and I'll see you on the next one. All right.
all right. Till next.